They were the trailblazers of women's rights in Afghanistan. They were the staunch defenders of the law, seeking justice for their country's most marginalized. But now, more than 220 female Afghan judges are in hiding due to fear of retribution under Taliban rule. 6 former female judges spoke to the BBC from secret locations across Afghanistan. All of their names have been changed for their safety.
Throughout her career as a judge, Masuma has convicted hundreds of men for violence against women, including rape, murder and torture.
But just days after the Taliban took control of her city and thousands of convicted criminals were released from prison, the death threats began.
Text messages, voice notes and unknown numbers began bombarding her phone.
It was midnight when we heard the Taliban had freed all the prisoners from jail, says Masuma.
Immediately we fled. We left our home and everything behind.
In the past 20 years, 270 women have sat as judges in Afghanistan. As some of the most powerful and prominent women in the country, they are known public figures.
Traveling by car out of the city, I wore a burqa, so no one would recognize me. Fortunately, we made it past all the Taliban checkpoints.
Shortly after they left, her neighbors texted her to say several members of the Taliban had arrived at her old house.
Masuma says that as soon as they described the men, she knew who was looking for her.
Several months ago, prior to the Taliban takeover, Masuma was ruling over a case investigating a member of the group for brutally murdering his wife.
Upon finding him guilty, Masuma sentenced the man to 20 years in prison.
I can still see the image of that young woman in my mind. It was a brutal crime, says Masuma.
After the case was over, the criminal approached me and said, "When I get out of prison, I will do to you what I did to my wife."
At the time I didn't take him seriously. But since the Taliban took power, he has called me many times and said he has taken all of my information from the court offices.
He told me, "I will find you and have my revenge."
At least 220 former female judges are known to currently be in hiding across Afghanistan, a BBC investigation has found.
Speaking to 6 former judges from different provinces, their testimonies of the past 5 weeks were almost identical.
All have received death threats from members of the Taliban whom they previously committed to prison. 4 named specific men whom they sentenced for murdering their wives.
All have changed their phone number at least once due to receiving death threats.
They are all currently living in hiding, moving locations every few days.
They all also said their former homes had been visited by members of the Taliban. Their neighbors and friends reported being questioned as to their whereabouts.
In response to the accusations, Taliban spokesman Bilal Karimi told the BBC, "Female judges should live like any other family without fear. No one should threaten them. Our special military units are obliged to investigate such complaints and act if there is a violation."
He also repeated the Taliban's promise of a general amnesty for all former government workers across Afghanistan. "Our general amnesty is sincere. But if some wish to file a case to leave the country, our request is that they do not do this and they stay in their country."
During the mass release of prisoners, many criminals not associated with the Taliban were also released.
With regards to the security of female judges, Mr. Karimi also said,
"In the case of drug traffickers, mafia members, our intention is to destroy them. Our action against them will be serious."
As highly educated women, these judges were previously the main breadwinner for their families. But now, with their salaries stopped and their bank accounts frozen, they have all been reduced to living off handouts from their relatives.
For more than 3 decades, Judge Sanaa investigated cases of violence against women and children.
She says the majority of her cases involved convicting members of the Taliban as well as militant group ISIS.
"I have received more than 20 threatening phone calls from former inmates who have now been released."
She is currently in hiding with more than a dozen family members.
Only once has one of her male relatives returned to their former family home. But as he was packing some clothes, the Taliban arrived at the house in several cars full of armed men, led by a commander.
"I opened the door. They asked me whether this was the judge's house," he says. "When I said I didn't know where she was, they threw me on the stairs. One of them hit me with the butt of his gun and started beating me. My nose and mouth were covered in blood."
After the armed men left, Sanaa's relative took himself to hospital.
"I told another relative we must keep changing the house where my sister is staying. There is no other way out now. We can't escape to any other country, even Pakistan."